Don't settle for bad socks. Get comfort and grip at an affordable price with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Choose from 18 different colors at puregripsocks.com.
Technology sells football boots. The promise, or sometimes even just the suggestion of new and exclusive boot tech can often influence a consumer to pick one boot over another. And there's definitely something to be said about the placebo effect as it relates to true performance gains. But what I try to focus on in all of my reviews is pointing out what actually does something and what does nothing at all. Which is why in today's video, we're going to be highlighting the top 5 most useless football boot tech currently on the market. And that's not to say that I think these technologies hurt the performance of these football boots. This is me saying that I don't think these do anything at all. And really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy these types of videos, perhaps want to see more on the channel, drop a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2023. The Adidas Predator Accuracy, whether it's the Plus model like I have here or the Lace Point 1 variations, are excellent football boots and a gigantic improvement over the Edge models that they replace. However, because the facet frame sole plate tooling carries over from the previous generation, so does the tungsten weight at the tip of the toe, where the promise of this technology was improved shot power. How were they able to achieve this? Well, by strategically placing weight towards the tip of the toe. However, the amount of weight and the increase in power was completely undisclosed. Now, in fairness to Adidas, this element of the Predator accuracy is not really something that they focused on in the marketing. However, when the Predator Edge was a thing, I actually did my part in removing this tungsten weight and weighing it and found out that it weighs only 4 grams, which is pretty well the same weight as a quarter. And given that 4 grams is roughly the same amount of weight that could be stuck to your toe by way of just mud on the bottom of your football boots, needless to say, this is not increasing the power of your shot. Don't believe me? Take a quarter, tape it to the bottom of your football boots, and tell me for yourself whether or not it increases the power of your shot. Spoiler alert, it won't. The Nike Phantom GX Elite is a phenomenal pair of football boots, arguably one of the best currently on the market. However, the DF version of this football boot with its mid-cut collar incorporates an element that was first introduced on the Phantom Vision called ghost laces. While this technology sounds very spooky, what it actually is some elasticated fly knit material over top of the laces that are hidden underneath. This is basically just a glorified lace cover that admittedly does look really cool, but in terms of actually improving performance in any way, certainly for the extra $25 over the low cut model, well, I'd argue that it actually creates more bulk and creates a worse touch. Think about it for a second. If this is the low-cut version with the laces left completely exposed, they're exposed because there isn't an extra layer of material covering them up. All they've done here on the DF model is incorporated more or less the exact same lacing system, but instead covered it up with an extra layer of fly knit that doesn't have the same grippy texture as the grip knit across the rest of the upper, which is in blue on this particular colorway. Had the lace cover had the same grippy texturing, then there's an argument to be made that now the grip remains more consistent. But as it is, compared to the low-cut version, you're paying an extra $25 for extra material across the top of your foot that's supposed to improve touch? That doesn't make sense. And that's not to say that this lace cover feels bad, but if you're spending the extra $25 thinking that this is going to offer better control, that's simply just not the case. At $250, the Nike Zoom Mercurial Vapor 15 Elite is an expensive but an amazing pair of football boots. And if you look towards the rear, you'll notice that it features a low-cut design with kind of a mock collar, and that you have this elasticated fly knit material kind of hanging over the edges of where the heel liner ends, and of course this mini collar starts. For $25 more, you can get yourself the Zoom Mercurial Superfly 9 Elite, which features everything that you get on the Vapor, but instead of that mock collar, it extends into a mid-cut one made from the same elasticated fly knit material, edging that of the Vapor's opening. The difference being quite literally 1 inch of material. And don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with mid-cut football boots, and in some cases they can actually offer some benefit. If you play on artificial grass, sometimes if the collar fits your ankle well enough, it can actually prevent those rubber pellets from getting inside. But as it relates to pure performance, especially when they're charging you an extra $25, there is genuinely no benefit to it whatsoever. But again, placebo effect is a real thing, and there are plenty of people that think that this 1 inch of material is providing them some level of ankle support. Is that a possibility? Sure, I guess so, but in reality, if you really want to support your ankle, you have to A, have tension, and B, have some level of restriction, and this is designed to do neither of those things. It's just there predominantly to look cool. The suggestion of ankle support is not something that Nike or any brand making mid-cut football boots have ever claimed was a thing. It's just something that people made up. If you legitimately want ankle support, I guess buy a mid-cut boot if you want, but in reality, tape your ankles and that's how you're gonna get more support. The Puma Future Ultimate is, in my opinion, one of the more comfortable football boots currently on the market. However, its key new technology is one of the dumbest things in football boots in quite some time, and that is the bright orange zigzag running across the lateral and medial side of the upper that Puma is calling power tape. According to Puma, this band-aid looking zigzag is there to add structure to the upper, where given that the Future Ultimate is marketed as an agility boot, the idea behind it is that it's going to make the boot more responsive, move the instant that you do, giving you that one-to-one connection. And for the most part, you get that from the Future Ultimate. However, I don't credit any of that to power tape, because if you look closely, certainly along the edge of this power tape, it is incredibly thin, basically a thin layer of plastic fused to the surface, similar to the Puma logo that's also fused on the toe, but isn't a performance element at all. And given that the upper of the Future Ultimate is made from so many different layers, if you try to stretch it in any given area, you'll notice that there is no added tension in any section that features this power tape material. It's pretty consistent all the way through, has a solid liner underneath, and basically all this is a cosmetic element sitting on the surface. Once upon a time, Nike ACC All Conditions Control was a gigantic part of the brand's top-end football boot marketing. These days, you're only going to find an ACC logo on the Mercurial model. So whether or not it's actually included on the current Tiempo and the current Phantom GX, that remains to be seen, because unless they actually print the logo on the upper, there's no way to know that it's actually there. With the idea behind ACC being that it's supposed to be the best grip on the ball in all playing conditions, dry, wet, windy, tsunami, whatever it may be, ACC is there to help you control the ball. Unfortunately for this invisible technology, the texturing and grip levels on the ball from each of Nike's top-end football boots is completely different. And in Nike's current lineup, if we are meant to believe that because the new Mercurial is the only boot that features the ACC logo, then we should believe that this would offer the best grip on the ball in both dry as well as wet conditions. But in reality, that's not actually the case. Not to say that these are lacking in grip, but in both dry and wet playing conditions, the grip knit upper of the Phantom GX provides significantly better grip on the ball, and it technically doesn't have ACC. In other words, you can feel a grippy upper, but you can't feel ACC technology. Because if they don't print the logo on the side, we can't even tell if it's there. Regardless of the category, touch, feel, and control are big elements to any pair of football boots, and something that we're seeing more and more of from pretty much every brand, especially given that synthetic uppers and knitted uppers have become so prevalent, is micro texturing, which here on the X Speed Portal Plus, you're gonna find in the form of these little triangular elements that are raised off the upper ever so slightly on both the lateral and medial side, with the promise of improved control. You'll also find it on the new Puma King Ultimate, the Puma Future Ultimate, the Puma Ultra Ultimate, the Nike Tiempo Legend 9 Elite, and even the Predator Accuracy. But here's the thing about microtexture. The grip that it actually provides on the ball is minimal to non-existent, and what's ultimately going to have a bigger influence on your experience in terms of how the ball interacts with your foot is the ball itself. where some balls will be stickier and some balls will have a smoother, slicker finish to them, which will in turn result in your boots feeling grippier or less grippy, regardless of microtexture. If extra and consistent grip is legitimately what you're after, the rubber elements found on the top-end Predator models will definitely provide that, and the grip knit material found on the Phantom GX Elite will also provide that. Everything else, for the most part, the grip levels are going to vary way more so with the ball rather than the boots themselves. And that's not to say that microtexture is a bad thing, but if you're buying it with the hope that it's going to improve your ability to control the ball, unfortunately, it's just not.